Next up, we will get to hear the second customer story of the day. We will have PatientSky entering the scene. PatientSky provides a revolutionary and innovative cloud platform, enabling health professionals and partners to provide new, better, faster, and cheaper patient care. Let's welcome on stage Søren Hveisel, PatientSky's Vice President and Global Business Intelligence. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Cool. First time wearing this type of mic, so I feel like I'm about to do a sing and dance concert, but I'll spare you that. Maybe the ones who participate in the dinner will have the opportunity to see that. It's a sight for sore eyes, let me say that. So, no, thank you very much for having me here. My name is Søren. I work in a company called PatientSky, which was very well introduced here. In short, we deliver various software types, software products to the healthcare industry. I think I have some slides here very shortly. PatientSky, at its core, is a platform provider. And through our platform, we provide software services. Not only we, but our partners provide software services to all types of healthcare personnel in the industry. If you're very interested in what we do, you can go to our website and read more. I'm trying to short the time down here so that we can have some questions afterwards. At a glance, we were founded in 2014. Today we are 130 plus employees. I think the number is a little bit higher than that, but that's what we are saying right now. More than 1.8 million people have downloaded our patient app. So they use that app when they are interacting with their, for instance, their general practitioner or their physiotherapist, doing self-service bookings and so on. In total, there are more than 25,000 individuals using services that our platform provides, either through our own software services or through our partner software services on the platform. Today, I'm here to talk about the journey from a startup to Scaleup. We've had various angles on it today as well, so and there will probably be a lot of opinions about this journey. So this is my personal perception on a very simple level about how we went from a startup to a Scaleup and what were the challenges that we were facing and how did we overcome it. So hopefully by the end of this presentation, I will have provided some advice or at least brought some ideas to the table for anyone out there who's about to embark on the same journey that we had or is right up in it right now. So to illustrate how I see this journey, I have made a very simple diagram here. So on the x-axis you have time, and on the y-axis you have a size. And as a company grow, I see that there are multiple, you can call it make or break, points in the life cycle that either defines whether the company will succeed or if it will break. And through the life cycle the life cycle of the company or as it matures, those make or break points, what defines or the criteria that defines whether you will succeed or not will change. So it's not the same criteria every time as you grow. So the first make or break point, as I call it, is maybe it's a little bit small, but it says startup. So you found the company, you have a great idea, and then at some point that startup will either grow further or it will break. The statistics, though, is not in favor of startups. So hopefully today people can learn something and progress beyond that. Then, as I see it, the next make or break point, it's not a point more. This is more of a sphere where you have to progress through that sphere to become on your journey to becoming more of an enterprise company. That's what I call the Scaleup make or break. I wrote 100, so we can debate that, but I would say it's around when you reach around 100 employees or 100 million in revenues, you will endure some other challenges that you had when you were a startup. And this green line here could be any company's growth. This is just for sure, like for this example here. So the green line here indicates the growth of a fictional company, right? So down in the left corner, the company is founded, and then at some point during the growth, they reach the make or break point of the startup. And in order to move past that point, these criteria, as I spoke on, they need to be kind of fulfilled, and there's a lot. But from my perception, the three most important things that a company needs to have in order to progress, there needs to be a market demand. There needs to be a demand for the product that you're selling. You need to have at least an MVP product, something that is actually providing some value for the customers, and you need to have funding, because growing is unfortunately very expensive, or can be. But if you succeed with those and can succeed with those three criteria there, you are able to move on. And then at some point at the 100 level, if you don't, the red dotted line will indicate what will happen, right? And then moving on, the make or break sphere or point number 2 is the scale-up part. And here the game changes a bit, because when you are a startup, you sit a couple of people around the table and you solve all the problems for the company, right? And the way you do hiring is like, I know someone I went to school with, he's a very cool guy, let's hire him, maybe he can do some marketing. But when you become a larger company, you need to have processes in place in order to scale. If you don't have processes that you believe in, then you're not able to scale, because one person cannot solve all the problems of the entire business. So in order to move through this sphere here, as I see it, you need to have processes plus. And I really want to emphasize that processes here is very important in order to scale. The next part, processes and routines, is kind of the same as the process, but way of doing things like standard operational processes and routines. And the last part is like scalability, because if you can't scale your business, it's going to be very difficult to grow. And if you, for instance, do a what do you call it? You call it a buy and build, or build and buy. Then you will endure some scalability issues in terms of you acquire a lot of internal systems, a lot of internal data sets that doesn't really match and work together. So you need to really be aware of that if you want to progress through that. Otherwise, at some point, your scale-up, even though it became a successful startup, it will break at some point. So to summarize what I'm trying to say here, in order to succeed in the transition from startup to scale-up, you need to focus on processes and scalability. To put it in perspective of our own journey here, we were founded in 2014. We had a market MVP product, our patient administration tool. What it did was it removed, in best cases, it removed more than 60% of administration for the receptionists on the GP offices, so that they could support the doctors in more of the administrative work that they did, which would then free up time for the doctors to do more patient care. So that became very popular, and when we reached that startup breakpoint, we knew we had a market demand for our products, and we had funding to progress on. The only question was then just how fast do we want to grow. So we actually embarked on a buy and build strategy, where we went out and did 2 acquisitions. First of all, because we had a platform, and a platform is not worth much if you don't have any traffic. And second of all, buy and build, if you have the framework for doing it, can be a very efficient way to grow both your revenues, but also your company in general, and get some synergies out of it. So pretty fast, over the period of 2017 and 18, we entered the scale-up, make or break phase. And when we came to that point, we started changing our kind of way of working. We didn't like turn down the speed, but we started focusing more on building sustainable processes, building a business and an infrastructure that could scale. That's why in 2019, when I met Mads, he's down here somewhere, we actually invested in NetSuite as our enterprise resource planning system, and I'll get back to why. And we also did a lot of other internal things, such as like we did like a huge internal business process mapping where we went through every stage of the entire business process from like start to end, or like start to the infinity, and mapped up how it was supposed to be. And then, because we wanted our systems to support that process. And then, working with focus on processes and scalability, we were actually able to move through that make or break point, and actually it enabled us to expand to Finland. So now we have an office here in Finland. And in 2020, we actually did another acquisition. Yeah. So that's our story. So why we chose NetSuite, or basically why the ERP system was an important factor for us to succeed. The reason why, if you look at this slide here, when we did the acquisitions, we acquired a lot of different systems. Vincent also mentioned that you were managing a heck of a lot of accounting systems, and so did we, but maybe in a smaller scale. But we had 4 different finance systems. We had 4 different CRM systems. Some of them were older than me. Some of them were invented by someone in the company. Some of them were managing their businesses in Excel. In addition to that, we had 4 different ways of doing business. And on top of that, we had 4 different sets of data. And that was not very sustainable for us. It was a nightmare to do like insights and reports. Today I work with like business intelligence. And it's a nightmare to compile some useful information and data and provide that to someone who's about to make a decision, when you have to kind of work with this setup here. So we knew that if we were going to succeed and be able to scale internationally, we had to consolidate our business processes into one, like the PatientSky way of doing things. We had to consolidate our systems into somewhat of one system. The goal and the aim and the dream was at that point, like, we only need one system to do everything. It's not always possible, but having that in mind, we wanted to consolidate into as few systems as possible. And then we wanted to consolidate all our data into one, like, single source of master data. And we chose NetSuite because we needed something that was able to scale across borders. We needed something that was flexible enough so we could customize it to fit our business processes. There's a lot of good systems out there, but the thing is with NetSuite, as least from where I see it, is that NetSuite, you can customize it to support your businesses, while when you choose another or smaller system, you will have to adapt some of your business processes to the system. And I don't think that is the right way to do it. So NetSuite became the preferred choice. And over a period of almost 2 years now, we've been working hard and invested a lot in consolidating everything that we do into one ERP. You can call it ecosystem, where NetSuite is the core system in that. So, lastly here, just want to share some 5 things to think about for those of you who's about to maybe implement a new ERP system, or who's already up in it, because implementing a new ERP system is not always fun. Let me just put it like that. And if you start out by thinking that, okay, let me buy an ERP system and I can be up and running next month, then I will tell you that you will be wrong. And or please call me if you figure out how to do that, then I would very much like to know that. No, there will probably be a lot of challenges on the way, but I believe that if you think about the 5 things here now that I'm about to present, I think you will come a long way in succeeding with your implementation of an ERP system. So, looking at the first stage of your implementation, I call it the pre-installation, the pre-phase, whatever you want to call it, everything that happens before you install your system. Don't underestimate your work in such an implementation. We did that, to be honest. We thought, okay, it's another application, how hard can it be? It's clouded, it's, straight out of it's off the shelf, sweet success, whatnot. It's gonna work within 3 months. We were wrong. It works now, but it took a little bit more time than 3 months. So make sure you have enough human capital, like enough people to facilitate the processes, but also have like the financial backing of within your company to do so, because it is and can be a more expensive project than just buying whatever you want, like a small module. The next part is that business processes dictates support, system support, not vice versa. It's very easy to get inspired, let me put it like that, when you buy a new system, to get inspired by the system is doing this by standard. And then you go back to your kind of business and you look like, okay, we don't do that, let's just change it and then fit it to the system. You should use that, most systems today have been per standard customized to support best practice. So of course you can use elements of the way the system, how it works, straight out of the box. But think about it like the system needs to support your core competencies, need to support the way that you work, the way that you intend to grow, and not the other way around. And the last part in the pre-installation phase is that remember the good old shit in, shit out. It's still a thing, right? Pardon my language, but it's a thing. So when you have a lot of data, and as a startup, you will probably have a lot of good or bad data, but for us, we had a lot of shitty data, sorry. If you don't spend time on cleaning up that data, defining what's right, basically, what's master data, what's the master data that I need on a customer, what's the master data that I need on deals or whatnot, then you'll just inherit the problems that you had before into your brand new system. And that's a shame, because then you haven't solved anything. So use time and effort to define like what is right in terms of data, clean it up, and then you can import it into a system. Then during the installation part, have focus on change management. Think installation, implementation, and then alignment. It's very easy to do like, okay, now the system is live, everything works, I'm happy, they know that they need to go to netsuite.com to log in. How hard can it be? If you neglect that, in this case, system equals people, then you will fail as well. Because remember, when you change a system that is so like in the core of the business as an ERP, you're actually changing the way that people are working every day. So have that in mind when you do a ERP implementation. Think like the last part, alignment. That's where I see, and that's where we also in the beginning went wrong. We forgot that systems equals people, and not including people will create resistance in the organization, and then the whole implementation part, even though it's working, will or could become a nightmare. Lastly, post-installation part. The journey is never complete. So make sure that you have a dedicated team and a good partner to ensure that you can continuously develop your system landscape or your system. It's very easy to think And when you are in a hurry and you're growing fast, it's very easy to just, install something and then you'll be like, oh, done. 6 months of implementation project or a year, I'm done, I'm out of here, I'm on to the next thing. But the thing is, your business requirements and will change constantly as you progress through your life cycle. And if you don't have a dedicated team, either internally or externally, or as a mix, your system will at some point be out of sync with the way that you work. So back to the one that I said, like business processes dictates how system supports. You need to ensure that the system supports the business processes at all times. So I believe if you can think about those 5 things when you do an implementation of an ERP system, you will come out on the other side with a smile on your face, hopefully. Yeah. So that's it for me. I don't know if there's any questions then, or we have time for questions.
Yes, we do.
Okay, cool.
Do we have any live questions? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Inga. I'm coming from Framery, and I totally agree with your comments. I was wondering about the customization. So, to a certain extent, you need to customize to fit it your processes. But how about then updates, changes, new modules? How have you faced problems with customization when you upgrade and implement new things?
Yes, definitely. And as I said, when you buy, having the idea of everything fits within one system, it can be very difficult because each and every business looks different on the inside, right? And what we saw that, for instance, when it came to sales automation or the marketing part, we needed another application to support that part of the business. But in addition to that, we needed that to be integrated to the whole ecosystem that the core of NetSuite. And we chose to go with, for that part of the business process, we chose a HubSpot solution. And what we've just been through now was an integration between that application and the NetSuite part, so it directly synchronizes the data. And I think that's one thing that you need to keep in mind when you buy a new system today, that what are the options for me to integrate other system into it, but not only on kind of the API level. You need to also understand how much competencies are there out there in the market in terms of external partners who can do this for you, because that could potentially be a challenge. But I think NetSuite is, as I said, very flexible, and you can integrate a lot of system into it. But the major or the biggest challenge that we have endured in that area is that when we went down the road of choosing a too small of a application provider, the whole kind of society around that application was too small, so there was not enough knowledge base to tap into, and that kind of made it a little bit more expensive, oftenly in terms of time and capital, to do, for instance, an integration. So be aware of that. Use something that's out of the box, integrated. That would be preferable. But if you're going outside of that scope, then find something or an application that has a big enough society around it, so you can call piggyback on that knowledge, and that will save you a lot of time and money.
Do I have time for another question? Related to master data. So how well fit, or how good fit you found from NetSuite against your master data needs? So all the fields you needed, did they match, or did you create new requirements to match your data?
That's a good question. I would say when we were doing our startup phase, we didn't focus at all almost on the data part. So when we were faced with the NetSuite integration, the first thing that happened was that a kind consultant sent me a template of this data needs to be filled out, and I was like, holy moly, where? So that was kind of a healthy, provoked initiative to kind of awaken my eyes and see we need to get control of this data now. Here's the opportunity. So we actually defined our like brand new data models for all our data sets. Basically, we started out by just saying like, what is right? What data do we need? Then we went through like the system needs to treat the data right, and then on top of that we said like people need to treat the data right. But it all starts with defining like what do I need as data.
I agree on that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Let's take one more question from the chat as well.
Yes.
We have Peter who asks, what is the next growth step for PatientSky? New countries or new markets or acquisitions?
I think that's a question I'll leave to our investor relations responsibles. So I'll advise that you can, if you go to patientsky.com under the investor relations part, there will be some very skilled and talented people there who can tell you a lot about where we're going and what the plans are. Otherwise, I know that there will be a Q3 presentation coming up soon, so that could also be a place to follow where we're going.
All right.
Thank you very
you,
much.
Søren. Big applause to Søren.